Unfortunately, the number of people riding motorcycles continues to go down. As you can see from my super scientific graph that is totally backed up by science and data, if you look here, in 2010, we had this amount of riders, and in 2025, it just keeps going down, and not worth this amount of riders. Trust me, I know the science is baffling, but it's true. The number of riders is continuing to go down every single year. And to be honest with you, this makes me really sad because riding is probably the most fun thing that I've ever done. And my biggest regret really is not starting sooner. I really put off riding for quite a long time because it was intimidating. For so many years, I heard about how dangerous riding a motorcycle was, and after riding for a while, I can agree that yes, it is more dangerous than a car, but at the same time, they're only as dangerous as you make them. Somebody's calling me. Don't fall, please, stay. The stranger part about the scenario is companies just keep coming out with more and more beginner bikes, and I really think that reflects that they're trying to get more people into the motorcycle market because not as many people are riding, not as many people are buying bikes. This, in my opinion, is probably one of the best bikes to start on. We're gonna get to that in a minute. All right, we're gonna get to that in a minute. I know how intimidating that it can be trying to get into riding because I was there a couple years ago. You kind of look at the big picture of everything and there's a lot going on. You get really overwhelmed, you get a little overstimulated, and you go, oh my God, there's too much, but it's okay. I'm going to break this down and keep it simple. We're going by the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, because that's what works for me, because I'm kind of dumb. My goal is to get as many people into the riding hobby as I possibly can in the year of 2026. Do you remember when you turned 16 and you went for the first drive on your own and you had that like awesome feeling of just freedom and you could do whatever you want, go wherever you want? You were just, the world was yours. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that's what it's like every time you go on one of these things. You're just out, you're free, you feel like nothing can stop you. They just make you feel like a kid again. I don't care if you're on a fast sport bike or a slow, boring ADV bike. It's not boring. It's actually, this is probably more entertaining than that. But we're going to get to that later, okay? That's going to be on step 3. But let's get into step 1, shall we? You're going to need gear. The first step really should be buying gear, okay? I think a lot of people do this wrong. They run out, they jump into buying a bike, they get the bike, and then they kind of just panic, figure out the rest. And you're really just kind of setting yourself up for failure, in my opinion. Typically, the more money you spend on gear, the higher safety rating it's going to have, as well as it's just going to last longer. You don't realize it, but you're actually pretty hard on this stuff throughout a riding season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be a gear police and tell you that you need to wear this, or it's got to have this safety rating, or this or that. We're not doing that, okay? Any gear is better than no gear. I don't care that if this jacket is rated 10 times stronger than this jacket, it's still a layer between your skin and the asphalt. Now, having something that is rated to slide or something that is leather where it counts is definitely going to help you out in the sliding down the road scenario. But again, any gear is better than no gear. Your hoodies, your Vans, your jeans, they really don't count as gear. So when it comes to gear, your number one thing you should really look for first, and I think everybody does, is probably going to be your helmet. Now, luckily, there's a bazillion options of different helmets out there. This is a Simpson. If you're riding something like cruiser style, these are really awesome. They're super lightweight. They're super comfortable. They're just very loud. They'll make you go deaf. To things like this. This is my KYT Revo. This thing was super cheap. It's super comfortable, and the shape of this thing just cuts through the air amazingly. I love this helmet. I'm going to continue to wear this helmet throughout the next season. Really, like Icon makes some really great helmets for a lower budget. You don't need to go spend $1,000 to $2,000 on a helmet. You see a lot of the Instagram people that they've got the AGV Pista and they're just on there for clicks. And I'm going to tell you right now, every review of that helmet states how much it sucks for riding on the street. People just buy them because they look cool. I mean, if you want an AGV Pista look, AGV literally makes a cheaper version that's meant for the street that has all the cool cutouts so you can put your cardo and have speakers and yada, yada, yada in there. But no, people want to buy their race helmet just so they can be a street Rossi, probably hit a yellow Porsche. Next up on the list of importances is probably going to be gloves. Now, I say gloves are very important because in the case of you do go sliding on the road, the first thing that's going to go to the ground is going to be your hands, right? You're going to put your hands down. And a good pair of gloves could save you a lot of skin grafting. You need your phalanges, all right? We need these. We need these. These are a pair of Alpine Stars. There's a million companies out there. Like I said, when you're looking for gear, just go to like Revzilla and just go on there and just search. There's so many options of gear. It's ridiculous. I tried putting a list together for this video. There's too much. It's overwhelming. Or better yet, go to your local shop, try it on, make sure it fits, and then buy it from there. Support them. You think I would have cleaned these before making a video with them, but I did not. Next up on importance is going to be a pair of boots. These, I think, are probably the most overlooked part of gear. And I'm going to tell you right now, since I started riding with boots, I'm never going to go back because they just make the riding experience that much better. Just like your hands, when you go down, the first things that are going to contact are your hands and probably your feet. I don't know about you, but I would really prefer to not have road rash on my foot when I go down eventually. So that's what these are for. These protect your feet. And they have ankle support. So in theory, you really shouldn't be able to break your ankles with a nice pair of boots. I seen a video where a poor gentleman low slid his bike, and let's just say his foot got caught underneath the bike between the pavement, and when they came to a stop and got the bike off of him, well, asphalt's kind of like a cheese grater, and those poor vans did not help. So get yourself a pair of boots. Last but not least on my list of gear that you really need to get is going to be just a riding jacket. You can go crazy with these things. My biggest recommendation is get one that is vented that breathes really good. Because when do we ride motorcycles? We ride them when it's nice and sunny outside. Keep in mind what kind of bike you're going to ride when it comes to gear. Kind of buy gear oriented towards what bike you plan on riding, because depending on what riding position you're in, some things may fit better than others. This jacket fits a lot better on a sport bike. This jacket fits a lot better on a upright bike. Just keep that in mind. A little bonus tip for the helmet wearers out there. Get yourself a balaclava. Okay, I know this may sound dumb, but you might sweat quite a bit in a helmet versus if you have a balaclava, it's a lot easier to just take this off and wash these than it is to take all the padding out of these and wash these. It also makes slipping your helmet on way easier. For some reason, my ears get caught on this helmet terribly pulling it off. I might just have some big satellite dishes over here, but balaclava, you can wash these super easy, and it really does kind of help keep your helmet fresh. And like I said, make it easier to put on and off. On to step 3, and that's actually going to involve one of these. Good old, and probably the easiest of all the steps. And that's simply going to be just taking an MSF course. There's a couple ways in the US that you can get your motorcycle endorsement, and that is either A, you take an MSF course and you go through their class and you get licensed through that. You go to the Secretary of State and you go, here, look at this little slip. See this here? That means you got to give me my endorsement. Or you can do option B, which is you go to the Secretary of State, you pay a little bit of money, you take a little paper test, and then you get your learner's permit where you're allowed to ride under the supervision of another rider while they're going down the road for so many hours, and you go take your parking lot test and yada, yada, yada. All in all, they both end up costing about the same amount of money. I think a lot of people see the MSF course up front costing them $100 to $150 and go, whoa, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to go for $30, take a little paper test. But then they don't realize that a lot of places that let you do the parking lot test so you can actually get your license on your bike are going to charge you $100. So you're really not saving very much money. Not to mention that after you purchase your motorcycle, if you have an MSF course on record within the last few years, you get a discount on your insurance, which insurance on a motorcycle is not cheap, especially if you're going to buy a sport bike. Ask me how I know. If you don't know how to ride a motorcycle, they will teach you actually how to ride, how to operate the clutch, the gas, the shifter, the brakes. They're going to give you a lot of great tips on how to actually learn how to ride. So no, please, if you're going to start riding this year, get your endorsement and just do it the right way. We are finally on to step 3, which is the fun one, and that is going to be motorcycle shopping. When it comes to getting your first bike, and what bike should you start on, what bike are you not going to outgrow right away? What bike's going to be the most entertaining? And frankly, more important than anything, you should look at a category of motorcycle that you're going to be able to learn and progress and really improve your skills on. And in my mind, there is one category of bikes that really stands out on this, and that's going to be dual sports or the lightweight ADV bike, kind of like my Ibex 450. That's a great bike. The great thing with a dual sport is that they're very light, they're very playful, and they're kind of like a dirt bike. You can drop the things and they're not fragile. And on top of all this, they're a very versatile bike. You can pack them out with luggage and go on a road trip. You can go carve up some canyon roads on them. Hell, you can even take them off-road and go play in the dirt if you really want to. If you're just starting out, I want to steer you away from the beginner sport bikes. I know a bunch of people are going to come out and go, "Bah, you can learn a lot on a slow starter sport bike." You absolutely can. You can learn a lot on them. But the problem with them is that they are limited to what they can do. If you were going to buy a 40 horsepower bike, you might as well buy one that can do more than just ride around on the pavement, because I promise you, if you go out and buy an R3 as your first bike, you're going to ride it for not even a season and get bored of it and want something different. You can learn the same fundamentals on a dual sport. You can learn the fundamentals on a dual sport even faster than you could on a sport bike. The only fun thing about sport bikes is going fast and the handling of them. And when they do neither one of them, it's a waste of money. I would highly, highly recommend that you go to your local motorcycle dealership. You're going to go sit on a bunch of bikes and just see what fits you, see what interests you. You might online look at a bike and go, I really, really want that. You might go sit on it in person and realize, all right, the seat height of this, a little too tall, or you might realize this bike might be a little too heavy for me. I'm gonna put you on a bike that I think would be probably the best beginner bike you could get, and that's gonna be the Honda CRF 300L. The CRF 300L is going to be such a great bike to learn on. It's so lightweight, it's so playful, there's spongy suspension, it's comfortable to ride around on, it's got plenty of power for the street, might not be a highway king, but it's going to be a great bike. You're going to learn a lot on it, and you're going to learn very quick. So we've gotten our gear, we've gotten our endorsement, we've gotten our motorcycle. We are all set. Step 4, very, very simple step, and that's going to be ride the motorcycle. Go out and enjoy the freedom of riding. But as you're going out and riding in this 2026 season, I want you to keep a couple things in mind. We all have our limits. We don't want to push our limits too hard. When you first start riding, try to stick to some local roads. Maybe stick to things under 40 miles an hour for a little bit. Once you get comfortable riding around in traffic and kind of, the slower speeds, maybe step it up. Maybe do some higher speeds. Do some like 55, 60 mile an hour stuff. Just take your time. Don't push it too much. You've got all season and the rest of your life to learn. We don't need to try and take on too much at once. A big recommendation I'm going to have is let's stay off the interstate for maybe a full season, or at the very least, probably your first 1,000 miles. There's a lot of things you're going to notice that you're going to pick up. When you see a car sitting at an intersection, you're going to look at their wheels and make sure their wheels aren't rotating or moving. You're going to look to see, does the driver, are they looking at you? Do they even pay attention to see you're there? If they're kind of in la-la land, you might start slowing down a little bit just to predict, okay, maybe I want a bigger cushion of time, so if they do pull out in front of me. Riding a motorcycle, like I said earlier, is really only as dangerous as you make it. If you're going to put yourself in dangerous situations, then yes, you're going to raise your likelihood of a crash. However, if you just take things slow, you avoid traffic, and you ride in areas that don't have a high concentration of traffic, then you'll be a lot safer. Treat every car as if they're going to run into you. Try and avoid areas with heavy traffic. And if you are in traffic, try to just get away from it. I'm not advocating you speed, but if speeding a little bit means you can get through a big congestion of traffic and get around it and just get away from the cars, you're going to be safer. When you are riding, don't look directly in front of you. No matter what speed you're doing, I want you to try and look 10 seconds ahead of you. So if you're going really slow, that might be kind of close to you. If you're going 60, 70 miles an hour, that might be, a couple hundred yards in front of you. But never get too focused on what's directly in front of your motorcycle. Pay attention to what you're riding into, especially when it comes to curves. That's a big thing when it comes to turning, is a lot of people want to get locked onto the road versus looking through the corner to see where they're going. And that's where a lot of people can get in trouble. So if you really focus on just trying to pay attention to what is 10 seconds in front of you, test it out in your car. Really just like look at a spot and then focus on that spot and start counting down and seeing roughly how far away 10 seconds really is. It's not quite as far as you would think, but you're going to be able to pay attention to a lot more. You're going to observe more. You're going to be able to avoid more situations. Just look ahead and look as far as you can. And the final tip that I'm going to have is every time you go out on a motorcycle ride, try and learn one thing or try and improve one thing. There's a lot of fundamentals when it comes to riding, and it can be very intimidating. But if you just go out and say, I want to work on braking today as I'm doing this, I'm going to really focus on my braking, or I'm going to focus on throttle control. If you do just one thing every time you go out, over time, you're just going to become a better rider every time you ride. It's kind of one of the fun things of riding, is just going out and trying to see if you can get better at one particular thing. And like I said, eventually that's going to compound into you just becoming a great rider. So just take it slow, take it easy at first. I really hope these simple steps help somebody get to ride in 2026 because it's the best thing in the world. It really is one of the most freeing feelings ever. In 2026, let's see if we can reverse the numbers and get the amount of riders going up. If you want to start riding, I highly encourage you to watch the video. If you know somebody else that wants to start riding, or maybe you know somebody that you want to start riding with you, send them this video. Tell me what you think. Did I miss any points in it? Should I have included something? Should I have left something out? I'm just a simple, humble man that started riding a few years ago, and I'm trying to share my experience with you guys and make it simple. Again, before we end this video, let's go over them. Just again, we're gonna buy gear, we're gonna get our endorsement, then we're gonna buy a motorcycle, then we're gonna start riding and just taking it easy. I don't want people to go out and buy a motorcycle first and then panic and try to get everything else done, because then when you rush through things, you tend to make mistakes. This can be a very dangerous hobby, and I want everyone to go through it and be cautious and careful and ride safe. And I want to set everyone up for success. And I think my 4 simple steps should help anybody succeed in riding. Anyway, guys, until next time, peace out.